I've always enjoyed traveling, but it's changed over the years. In the beginning, I would go to museums and I could step out onto city streets and eat in nice restaurants and sleep in nice hotels. It's always pretty safe and expected. But when I moved to Arizona in the 80s, I decided to expand a little bit. So, my first trip was to go to the Four Corners area. And that seemed like going to the ends of the earth. We drove forever and it became more desolate as we went. We pitched a tent in the red dirt, cooked over an open flame, and watched the stars come out at night. And that's always a treat when you can see stars away from the city. So the next morning, we got up and we drove to the rim of Monument Valley. And waiting there was our tour guide with a open air truck. There were 12 of us who got into that truck, and 4 of them were German speakers. So the ride down to the valley was very scary. It was a dirt road on the edge of the cliff. There were K-turns, and although it was a beautiful sunny day, it was quite scary. We got down to the bottom safely, though. And down there, of course, I saw the beautiful rock formations. We saw sheep grazing in the field. There was rock art. Some of it was ancient, and some of it was from the teenagers last year. I saw a water barrel, and that's when I was told that there were Hogans down there that did not have running water. That was news to me. We saw people, old weathered people, tilling the fields, and I saw them using hand tools. There were a few tractors, but I didn't realize that people still lived that way. So one of the stops that we made was in a Hogan where a grandmother showed us the Dene lifestyle. It was one big room, and there was a fire pit in the middle. There were beds along the side that were just blankets on the floor, actually. She had examples of tools that they would use in the fields, the weapons that the warriors would use, some of the items that medicine men and women would use, cradle boards, the things that you might see in a museum. However, when you see them in a Hogan for the first time, that was pretty exciting. Still seemed pretty safe, though. And then she asked if there was somebody in our group with long hair that was willing to participate in a demonstration about hair bundling. So one of the German gals, I'll call her Olga for the sake of the story, sat cross-legged on a blanket, and grandmother knelt behind her and took a bundle of straw, and she tapped her on the shoulders. She tapped her on the top of the head as she was singing a really sweet little song. And then she picked up a comb and some yarn and she started to bundle the hair. And that's when Olga started to cry. There were tears streaming down her face, and her shoulders were pumping up and down in sobs. Well, the grandmother stopped. And she said, "Oh, I am so sorry. I hope I didn't hurt you. What's wrong? Can I help you?" And one of the other German speakers came over and whispered something to her. And Olga was helped up by those two. And the grandmother gave her a great big, long, warm, comfortable hug, which was very sweet. We were all just quiet watching all of this. And we filed out of the Hogan and into the truck, all remaining very quiet. And our driver sang songs to us in his native language as he drove up out of the valley. And when we got to the rim, then we all got out of the vehicle. And Olga was smiling, so we went over and we patted her and smiled, and she smiled back. And it was all just a really nice way of acknowledging what had happened down there. You know, traveling just has never seemed the same after that to me. It's still safe, um, but it's so much more enriching and unexpected. I don't know what those tears were all about. We will never know. However, I did see that it doesn't matter what the lifestyle is, it doesn't matter what the material things are. We all have the same emotions, and we all have a need to want and give comfort. Those things are universal.